What was your favorite dining establishment in Grayson? Besides the Shangri-La.
Shangri-La.
Well, yeah, but I mean, as far as ones that, growing up, did y'all ever go out and eat?
Yeah, we went out of town. On a Saturday night, we always went to, Rui and I would go off to, most of the time it was Huntington, I reckon. But there's a couple of restaurants over in Ironton that we went, if sometime with us. And then sometimes we'd go to Huntington and George and Jenny Clark. We'd meet them up there, and we'd eat at a pretty nice place. And then we'd get out and go to the movie. And the whole thing cost us $10, so you can imagine what the food was. But it was, it was going prices then. That's just all it was. And we got away because she and I both worked, and we worked together on a lot of it. And then she worked her Mary Kay, her and Gene Fields worked her Mary Kay, and along with K.E. Clifton and Sons, Inc. And when she'd get her day in and get her weekend, and I would too, and we're just ready to just shake the business completely. So we'd take off and we'd drive over to Huntington or drive over to Ironton or Ashland. Now there's two good places in Ashland, and we'd have dinner and go to movies, and then we'd just come back, and then start getting ready for church the next day, because that was a pretty good job getting all the boys ready. Sometimes you get the first 2 or 3 ready, and then when you get the last ones ready, the first 2 or 3 need to get ready again.
Well, kind of like September 11th was for us, and how JFK's assassination was for your children's generation. Where were you and when the world changed on December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor got attacked?
Well, when I heard of it, I was standing in front of the Gray Theater in Grayson. It was on Sunday afternoon. And anyway, the man that was running the movies, he had heard it. And he come down the street and says, Pearl Harbor's been bombed, we're at war. And everybody just went into a tizzy, up and down the street. It just buzzed back and forth, And that was a day that pretty well remembered there. And Lowell, what is his name? He's Lewis from Carter City. He run the movie. That's one that I heard it first. I heard him saying it. And it was a day that did change the complex of the whole world. What it did, in the negative sense, we can see he destroyed and killed 1,000 and so many people on the Arizona. But there's a lot of whether it would have anyway, I don't know. But there's a lot of positive things came out of the results of World War II. Look, we had, of course, the atomic bomb, and a lot of people say that that's a negative thing, but there's every possibility that if they hadn't dropped that atomic bomb, why a lot of us, American troops, would not be here today, because we was getting right up there, right close where they could almost shoot us out of their back door, the Japanese was, because we was right there in the Philippines ready to move in. And if it hadn't dropped, it hadn't stopped the war, that's our next move. We was moving right up. We was kind of crowding in and closing in on mainland Japan. And I'd gotten to Manila. And our next move probably would have been into Japan proper. So that, of course, that made a definite move. Then the fact that the munitions business jumped to the point where they, instead of using normal bombs, whatever they were, they went into atomic bombs. And then, of course, they was going into hydrogen bombs, and now I think they're beyond that to something else probably. And so really there's a lot of negative stuff that brought about. but there's a lot of positive stuff as well. And that was the fact that the United States could get up off its back and defend itself and defeat enemies in two different countries. And we defeated the enemies of the, I got a letter from Forrestal. I got a letter from him. Of course, everybody that was in service did. Everybody in the Navy said congratulations on defending our country against the enemy in two different areas in two different directions. And it's a pretty nice letter. I don't know what it is, but anyway, everybody got one. It was a kind of a, but it was something, and it brought the country closer together than what they were, because they were at different times the country gets divided, and now the news media is worst divider I reckon they have. But then the news media were everybody was on the same page, and everybody thought the same until the Vietnam War come along, and then everybody turned against the political powers that were and possibilities, and they caused more dissension, so that the Vietnam veterans now are mad people. And I'm sure that's the reason why it was, because when we came back from Europe, of course the war's still going on. Europe war hadn't been settled yet. In a European theater, why they had brass bands out on the docks there, and had the fresh milk. That was something we didn't have in a long time. And donuts, and bands playing, and the music, and the dancing girls, and whatever. Well, and then when we left out of Frisco going the other way, well, it was the same thing. And then we come back from Japan, why it was congratulations, hoopla, and everybody was dancing in the streets, and everybody was happy that the war was over. Not so with the Vietnam bunch. They came back, and people said, well, what are you doing? What are you doing back here? Well, really, they said that in World War II, but nobody picked up on it. I know the Veep vice president from Kentucky, can't think of his name. Anyway, he made a statement, and he carried it in the Stars and Stripes, which is the overseas newspaper, that said, leave them boys over there in the Philippines, says we can feed them over there cheaper than we can bring them here and let them cause inflation. And of course that didn't go over big with the guys sitting there trying to get home.
That's nice.
And I was counting the numbers. You know, you got certain points for time and service. For every month in service, you got whatever points. And it's different from the Army and the Navy. And for every month that you were in a war zone, you got certain points and numbers. And then if you was under direct fire, well, you got certain points and whatever. And so I'd counted my points up, and I had lacked about 2 getting out when the war was over. And so and it didn't take long to get them 2 before I could. I was shipped down to Manila, and then from Manila I went down to Cavite. Cavite? Yeah. And from there, my time was up. I had all the points I needed. And then before I could get a ship home, why, I had about half a dozen points more than I needed. And here I'm sitting on that rock over there.
Ready to head home.
Yeah, I wanted to go home. And of course I had the heavy doing shore patrol duty, which was fill-in. And we did it, no, we didn't do it to the best of our ability. You did things there for reasons that hard to describe. None of them was honest. You did what you could get away with, really. And we got away with a lot of stuff.
Well, where were you at the day that JF, which first of all, let's go ahead and say that it's been well chronicled that you did not vote for Franklin Delano Roosevelt when you had a chance. And I've got a question, did you vote for John Fitzgerald Kennedy when he was up for office?
I might have. I don't know. I kind of liked his cut of his jib because he's a PT man, and I was a BT man.
But you don't remember if you voted for him?
I don't remember voting for him or against him, so I don't know.
A Democrat, Catholic?
It'd been awful hard for me to vote for a Democrat. A
Massachusetts.
Catholic, it wouldn't bother me, but voting for a Democrat, I'm afraid would turn my stomach.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to vote for him. But do you remember where you were at the day that he got shot?
Yeah, I remember. I was in Danville, Kentucky, building a vocational school, and I was I was out to the truck doing something, and my office was, the office was right there. His office was in a trailer, and the phone rang, and I picked it up, and Rui said, President Kennedy's been shot. And before I could get the full impact of it, I said, what that? Who got shot? Who shot him? What? And I was still trying to bring it into focus to what effect it would have on the country and me, because his vice president, LBJ wasn't greatly thought of as a administrator or a leader. I don't know anything bad or good that he did do, but he just wasn't. Everybody said, "Oh, it's too bad we'd lost." Of course, Kennedy was well thought of, and except for that thing down in Cuba,
Bay of Pigs.
Yeah, Bay of Pigs. He had a pretty good record, especially with the women. Didn't have to say that.
That's true, though. Well, this is a pretty loaded question too. But what is the greatest advancement in technology that you've seen in your lifetime? Or several of them, but
in technology,
things that really seem to make life better or worse.
Or worse. Now that's a problem too, because a lot of things it has the two-edged sword. Technology. I believe electronic phases of the changes, I'll say, in the world. Radio, television, now computers, and whatever else has come out since yesterday, because it seems like something new comes out every day. But I think the technology has been the most dominant thing in change. But on the other hand, there is change in people that is some good and some not that good. We're getting to the point where we're an atheistic society, which is bad, the way I see it, and the fact that we're allowing the ACLU to take taxpayers' money and beat us over the head with it is something that's beyond my understanding, how they could do that.
On the technology issue, you will be the last generation to not pack one of these little things around.
You think that's right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Cud lives on his.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob lives on his. I guess everybody out there in TV land would like to know, do you have any intentions of getting one of these things?
Never.
Because we would be able to get a hold of you, possibly.
Well, I don't need for anybody to get a hold of me, as long as I got enough to eat and wherever. Communications is good. That's true. And communication, you should be able to contact and to communicate with whoever, whenever. And of course, those makes it handier. But I can see the negative aspects of those, which people can't. And almost the other day, a lady liked to run over me. She's talking on the phone and driving through an intersection.
You don't think it was possibly your driving?
Huh?
You think it was her fault?
Well, I'm telling you, I stopped and she didn't. So,
Well, there's no doubt it could be a little more dangerous.
yeah.
But on your trip back from Texas, it was probably handy having one.
It come in handy for a lot of people there.
Let's see. This thing just says your most important achievements and your biggest disappointments, which we probably covered a lot of that in our spiel. Those are pretty big questions.
Yeah.
But you said that probably the greatest accomplishment was just or achievement was raising good kids, giving them
I think
chance.
that is really. I think a man is very fortunate if when he raises the children and then goes down to his grandchildren and goes down to his great grandchildren, and he's still got a pretty solid lot. I think he's more than fortunate, and I think there's a reason for it. I think the faith brings in a lot of strength to this way of thinking, and I believe that is one of the reasons. I think that's one of the reasons. I would say that's one of the reasons that our family has stayed close and relatively clear of confusion. I say that is because that they were brought up in the church, and that they believe and they obey. They believe there is an authority. You know, there's some people that don't think, well, ain't nobody greater than I am. They don't believe there is an authority that they have to answer to. And so they don't respect laws of the land. They don't respect the laws that the Congress has passed. They don't respect the laws of God. They don't respect anything, really. They say, I am, and that's it. And I think that's getting to a point where the news media is promoting that particular theory, and that is a detriment to society.
You're gonna be ready for a nap here in a little, aren't you?
How much time we got?
Not much, but I tell you what,
It's a boring thing.
no, it isn't. Not at all. But I got up early. I got up at 7:30.
Yeah, well, that's early. Yeah.
7 o'clock, actually.
Yeah.
Alarm started going off.
Well, I hadn't had my breakfast time you got here, so.
Well, let's see. We only got 3 questions. What? Now, this is another one that's a question you've probably heard over and over before, but what is something that if you would have learned it before, it would have helped you? You always hear people say, well, if I'd have known then what I know now.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you can think of that through experience and wisdom and years of trial and error, some of the things that were the best lessons you learned in life?
Best selections?
Best lessons you learned in life?
Oh, lessons. Well, I'd bet best one I reckon I'd learn would be not to bet on the inside straight. That'd be one of them. No, I've learned a lot. I've lost. Well, when you break it down to dollars and cents, I've lost a lot of money. I don't know whether they lost it or not, but it was within the realm of my pocket, and I gave it away by not following up on technicalities. You don't document some of the things that you do or have done, and you don't document some of the things that people tell you, and you don't write it down and get it certified or verified, and then you depend on somebody's word and they've conveniently forgotten it. So I would say that there's millions of dollars that I've lost right there. But then again, I don't know what I would have done if I had it. I've done all right without it. So the way I see that, it was just a lesson that I learned, and so it wasn't any loss or gain. It was just a lesson that I learned.
When you said that honesty and trust were 2 important pillars of marriage, but can you think of any other values and principles that you consider most important in living a good and just, upright life?
Well, I think that that is going to be something that will stay with you. That stays with you when the lights go out at night. You know it. Well, I've delivered a full load, and I've given honest measure, and so you've done the best you can do. If you do the best you can do, that's all's expected of you, regardless of what the outcome is. If you do the best you can do, then there's no more expected of you than that. if a success or a failure, doesn't matter. Because if you've done your best, then that's all you got to do.
Well, we got one question to go. Can you believe that?
One more.
Number 109.
109. PT 109. That's what it was.
Was that whose
That was-
PT was that?
That was John F. Kennedy's.
Was it?
Yeah.
PT 109.
PT 109.
Well, this falls in line with the same kind of topic. What advice would you give to future generations of new ones?
Advice. Advice is worth just what it costs. Nothing.
Advice ain't worth much.
If they can't see the tracks that you've walked, well, better than that, if the tracks that you walked is not a path that they should follow, then you are in error. But if they can see the tracks that you followed, and success is a multi-varied word, and a lot of people have success, and they feel success when it's not a matter of material achievements. But if you feel, if you've done the best you can do and walked the best you can, and people walking after you will walk straight, then that's the best you can do, and that's all you can do, because you only live your life. Now, the folks coming after you have to see your tracks. Like Rui had tracks in the sand, you know. Now, if they can see your tracks in the sand and see that they're walking straight, like the old Indian says, toe to heel, heel to toe, toe to heel, heel to toe, then they're walking a straight path. And if they can see that and follow that, and they can be straight, then they will profit by your example. And if that is so, then they can, because there's that poem, there's little eyes on you and they're watching night and day, there's little ears that listens and hears everything you say, there's little fellow watching, seeing everything you do, just waiting for the time he can grow up and be like you. Does that finish it off?
That does. That is pretty good. That's all the time we have here, ladies and gentlemen. No, that's a good way to wrap up our 109 questions.
Yeah.
For the formal session of this, I'd like to thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a joy. And,
Well, I enjoyed it too.
And we're not done. I mean, we're just kind of, we're wrapping up. That's a good poem. Where'd that come from?
Off the top of my head.
Oh, come on now.
I've used it for years.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've used it in Sunday school.
Well, what about some of your other poems?
Well,
I mean, some of the ones you can recite.
there's one that I can remember.
These are ones you've written.
Yeah.
Did you write the last one?
About people that go, yeah.
Did
About people that go to church, you know. It's, every time I pass this church, I pay a little visit. So at last, when they carry me in, the Lord won't say, "Who is it?" I like that.
Well, this is the improv section. You said that guy asked you if you were an experiential or whatever it
Yeah.
was speaker. But yeah, this is just
Extemporaneous.
extemporaneous speaker. You can get some nuggets on.
Yeah, I can kick it on.
When it's not scripted, you're not a scripted kind of guy. Holding you to a script there. I was impressed.
Well, it was, there's another one that I've told, I said it lately, but it's long. You've heard that about this professor from KCC?
Mm.
Let me see. I might have to go back and do this again. An old professor walked down the street. 3 bright students he chanced to meet. They walked up to the professor and spoke, saying, "On this guy we'll play a joke. Hello, Father Abraham, how do you do?" No, that's Moses," said number 2. The third one said, "You're both wrong. 'Tis King David, come play us a song." The old man smiled and blinked his eyes, and not to be outdone by these wise guys, says, "I'm sorry to tell you, my young friend, the ones you've mentioned, I'm neither of these men. My name is Saul. On an errand, he pleaded, to find some jackasses, and I think I've succeeded.
And you were with that one too?
Yeah.
Well, I want to see what our camera looks like up there.